just seeing our kids getting out there and actually walking a property with us. So like a couple of years ago, we had a real estate agent taking us to some different Airbnbs, and our kids were there. And I told them, I said, pick it apart. What needs to be done? Is it going to be an Airbnb? Why or why not? They're going through the whole thing all excited. And they're like, well, Dad, it needs painted here. It needs this done here. It needs this. I think the price needs to be here. And I think it can be an Airbnb because of this, this, and this. And the real estate agent was like, oh my gosh, these kids are 10. In the real estate side, to understand the financing and how to do subject to deals, lease option deals, seller finance deals, those would have allowed me to explode in the real estate so much quicker if I understood how to gain that knowledge at that young age.
Welcome to the Stay at Work Home. We are here to question the prevailing assumptions about the meaning of life, work, and the purpose of people. Instead of being torn apart by our vocations, we want to be pulled together. Come along with us as we change our picture of the good life and pursue the home as God intended, one that worships through work together. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stay at Work Home. I am your solo host for today, Keith Phillips, with an interviewee that I'm super excited about. He is a friend of mine, been a friend of mine for about 5 years now. One of the most legit dudes I know. His name is Jordan Funk. He has been many things in life, but the thing that he has found a lot of success in and that he's been able to bring his family into at a very granular, personal level is real estate investing. He also is putting out a book. It might not have the same cover when you go to buy it, but it's got this cover now. And it's called Deals, Ducks, and Duct Tape: The Unconventional Path to Real Estate Mastery. And it's not a joke. And I have read it, most of it now. And it could actually teach you what to do. It could certainly tell you where the landmines are.
Absolutely.
So first off, who is your family and what do y'all do together?
Well, my wife, Cassie, I've got a daughter, Beretta, and a son, Gatlin.
Because you don't like guns?
Absolutely no.
Yeah.
We used to own a gun store, and that was right around the same time that we actually were naming our children. So
nice.
We've done a ton together as far as work. In the book, it talks about, we had my daughter at 3 years old was helping us tile. She was helping us paint floor or paint walls and stuff. We've always wanted to bring them into the business and show them the business firsthand and help, have them help us, assist us, and learn.
And that was a huge takeaway is letting your 3-year-old, and maybe she was 4 or 5, I don't know, when she was doing the tile. Actually,
she was a year, if you want to get exact. Cass brought it up and she corrected me before I could correct the notes.
Child helping lay tile.
Yes.
So tell me that the tile is crooked.
Yes.
The tile is not straight.
Correct.
And that's okay. Is she lazy now?
No, she's not lazy. She actually gets up 5:36 every morning. She does 2 hours worth of chores before starting schoolwork, and then every evening she does the exact same thing. We've got goats, chickens. She's milking every morning, so she works extremely hard.
That's awesome. And I think there's a direct correlation between being allowed to lay tile when they want to, when most kids are just playing and pretending to work.
Right.
And they're not allowed to work because it's just not safe.
Sure.
Whatever. They don't want the stuff screwed up. And if you take the time, and it's going to take way more time if you let your kids help, but that pays dividends down the road.
It does. It does.
And that actually brings up a point that if you want to receive, significantly more returns in life than most people, and you could say that's monetary, lifestyle, otherwise, you're going to have to do things most people aren't willing to do.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that you guys have done that are kind of unconventional?
Well,
sacrificial.
If you go back to when we were running our insurance agency, we were making really good money, but instead of blowing it like everybody else, we took every penny that we had and was putting it back into our current business right now, which is real estate. Everybody was looking at us going, why don't you have the fancy vehicles? Why don't you have the nice houses like everybody else does and go into debt that direction? Instead, we were taking that money that we were making and dumping it back into the company. Now we look back and we see them and they're still working in that same business, doing the same thing and not progressing anywhere. I think that's one of the biggest things that we've done as on the financial side.
Yeah, put it back in. Don't eat your seed money. And there's a big difference, I think, how people view work. Obviously, you're just a consumer, so you're trying to get a lot so you can consume a lot, versus you are simply enhancing your ability to produce. And one of the things you bring up in the book is, I mean, yeah, you're looking to make money, you're looking to build a legacy, you're looking to pass this on to your kids, not just the wealth, but the work, the competencies, the skills. You're not simply looking to stock the 401k up so that you can burn it.
Right.
The other thing that I could say this from personal observation, you could sell out, move to the Bahamas, and drink martinis.
We've considered it sometimes. I mean, if you read through the book,
plan B, it's like, forget it, let's go. But you haven't done it.
Correct.
And the thing is, a lot of people, dare say most people, had they succeeded to the point that you have, would have done that to some extent. I don't see you going on a lot of vacations right now. You have a pretty nice truck now. I will say that.
Finally.
But like, that's a pretty recent thing. And that came from the fact that the other one, it came to an untimely end.
Correct.
Which I almost got called for when I was still flying medevac helicopter.
Correct.
But you're not doing it. So why? If somebody went over to your house, they're not going to say Jordan is a multimillionaire real estate tycoon. There's just like, Jordan's a good old boy that's got got a few toys like an excavator and stuff.
Sure. We don't want to flaunt things. I mean, that's not our style. We never have. We only have what we need. And I think that's something we also teach our kids too. I mean, you don't have to have the newest, the nicest, and the best things. And so I'm not 100% sure where you're really going with that question. But
are you even conscious of the fact that you're choosing to go out and sweat? Because point being, like, he still goes and works on stuff. Like, it's not.
I was on a roof the other day. So.
Like, who wants to be on a roof, right?
Right.
Jordan does, apparently. And then it's probably in the next 2 weeks, he'll probably swap out a dishwasher because one's going to break. He'll be involved in gutting a house, swinging a sledgehammer, rebuilding something, and he doesn't have to. Why are you still doing it? Are you conscious that you desire something that's different? And is it something you thought through at all?
No, probably not. But if you look back at it, my grandpa's 90 years old. And he still gets out every single day and he's building something and doing something. And that's who raised me. And I think I have that kind of ingrained in my soul, if you want to call it that way. Growing up on the farm, we didn't know when to quit. I mean, you work from dusk to dawn, and that's just the way it was.
It's not hours, it's the job's done.
Yeah, it's when the job's done. I mean, then that's when you're going home and you're taking a shower and you're turning around, you're doing it again the next day. And the next day is going to be different. Sometimes I might be wearing a suit and tie, and the next day I might be sitting up, on a roof, dealing with a roof because I couldn't get a contractor there.
I've never seen him in a suit and tie. I think he does it to go talk to the bank or something like that.
I haven't wore a suit and tie since I had my insurance agency. I don't think so.
Okay.
It's been a while. Yeah. So hopefully that kind of answers your question there in a roundabout way.
Do you think your grandfather liked that? Like, he did it because he wanted to?
I don't think that he knew any different. And I still, to this day, don't think that he realizes that he goes until he can't go anymore, and then he does it again the next day. I think it's kind of ingrained in, and taught from an early age. Kind of like what we teach our kids,
So how do you do that? How do you teach kids?
Well, I think part of it is showing them. I mean, you got to lead by example first off. And I think that goes with, anything that you're doing in life. If you ask somebody to clean a toilet, you better be willing to do it yourself. And the same thing with our kids. I mean, we teach them the same way, and we'll show them and coach them and work them through that process. And just like employees, our kids are not perfect, but they they learn every day and they work hard, and we continuously keep correcting them and working with them. So
You have 15 Google accounts. Yeah.
I think like 4 or 5. I get lost in them. I got to remember the passwords and like, looking at my hand and.
Yeah. I still do that with my zip code. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, if you're like me, how many zip codes have you lived in?
2.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we had kids, we moved 12 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, one of the reasons is when I was running the insurance agencies, we were setting them up all over different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, we would just be there for a year, set everything up, get things going, and move to the next one. And so we were constantly, either moving to apartments or houses and it was intense. So.
Is it worth it?
Yes, it was worth it. And I think the reason I say that is because we put all that effort into what we have today.
Yeah.
Now we can spend more time with family. We can spend more time with the kids. We can do more things together. So,
how do you decide when to make that change?
I think each person has to sit down as a family and kind of make that, decision on what's going to work for you and how you're going to be able to survive, pay the man. Or do you have enough set aside to build whatever you're building, I guess. So for us, we had enough cash flow that we were able to step away, because of a real estate business. And from that step away, we also sold that business as well too, which we did all right with as well.
Yeah, for us, the Airbnbs,
mm-hmm.
That's the safety net.
Sure.
That it's allowing us to explore other things.
Yeah.
To try, bigger, more audacious stuff. And stuff that involves the kids.
And you get to meet cool people too on Airbnbs.
Cool people. So the way me and Jordan met. Okay, so you tell this story in the book about you tell several stories in the book about people having animals in the yard. And I was like, can you believe that this guy thought it was perfectly permissible to have a llama in his backyard? And I'm thinking, I met Jordan because we needed a place to stay, because we were doing something.
Well, this crazy guy calls me. I mean, let's get down to it.
It's true. And I was like, hey, we need a place to stay, but we have 3 horses.
He didn't mention the 12 kids. I mean,
and he's like, yeah, we can make it work.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he dealt with llamas in the past, and so horse was just less exotic llama. So clearly, it can make it happen. But we were doing something at that point that was, very, very difficult. It was a bit of a sacrifice because we knew we wanted to be on this property. We had a vision for it. We had a vision for a property that was ultimately going to pay for itself, be a constant staycation,
right?
Somewhere we wanted to be and just never leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for months and months, and we did not know how long it was going to go, because buying this property was a nightmare, just a 9-month nightmare. But it panned out in the end, and actually it was God bringing us through some really difficult things to give us a really good price and a really good interest rate, and just make us stretch in the meantime.
Right.
But one of those things we did in the meantime was to live in a 29-foot camper for 3 months. And then when that's coming to the end of the season for the campgrounds, you can try it. We can try to wrap some tape here and there, but I got to shut it. They're shutting off most of the water in the campground because they don't leave it on over the wintertime.
Right.
It could freeze and stuff. So actually, it wasn't even going to be wrapping some tape around it. It was going to be trying to find another source of water to keep it stuck. It was going to be terrible. So I started looking on Airbnb, and I find this place. It's clearly out in the country. And I say, hey, can we come there and do this? We don't know how long. And he's like, well, why don't you come see it? Meet me at this place. And so we met Jordan, and he's like, well, they don't look like serial killers yet. But as you learn in the book, serial killers don't look like serial killers up front.
That is true.
That's what makes them good serial killers, apparently. So we went out there. We found out within about 15 minutes we had a lot in common. We homeschool our kids through classical conversations, and had a lot in common culturally and beliefs and otherwise. And became friends, and we lived there for, I don't remember how long, 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months, yeah.
Yeah. And it was mostly in the cabin. So
Yeah.
it was us and our 6 kids in 800 square foot.
Yeah, but it had 6 bedrooms.
It had 6 bedrooms, 6 tiny bedrooms that all went to the same little living space / kitchen.
Yep.
It's actually all you need.
Yeah.
And it's probably far more than most people for most of history have dreamed of having.
Absolutely.
So that's how Jordan and I.
You know, the question I have for you though is if the roles were reversed in today's, with your Airbnbs, would you have let us stay here like that? Because I asked your wife that question, and she kind of, I don't know.
Dang, you cornered me. I got to be honest. So the thing is like, if I was not making money,
right,
at the rate I'm making money on those properties,
right,
I would.
Yeah.
But I am making money at the rate I'm making money on those properties. I don't allow over 7-day guests.
Right.
Like it's.
Yeah. Our Airbnbs are 29 days max.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously we've made a couple different exceptions to that, but for the most part, we do 29-day max. We get a lot of individuals that are coming in for work. There's a lot of solar fields going on right now. And so they're bringing in 5 or 6 workers. There's nothing else in that area.
Yeah.
And so it works out really well.
When he says there's nothing else in that area, he means there's nothing in that area.
Correct.
Only thing that area is known for is trophy deer.
Yes. And
there used to be coal mining.
Yeah, there's still some coal mining going on, but yeah, for the most part, it is just deer hunting.
Yeah. And so as far as the Airbnb aspect, people will say like, well, I just live in this place. There's no reason to have a vacation rental. It's like, no, if you live there, there's a reason for somebody else to go there.
Right.
And if there's very few people there and very few reasons to go there, there's very few people to provide the Airbnbs for those few people that do need to go there. So the market self-corrects. I mean, it exists.
It does.
Yeah.
And we've done very well there.
So from a strategic point of view, you've shifted from regular rentals for the most part?
Correct. So we have actually started exploring into other states with Airbnb, and we've also got into some more commercial deals, getting away from just the straight rentals, and then also we've transitioned all of our rentals into rent-to-own properties as well. So,
do you have the same squatter problems in rent-to-own?
We have the eviction side of it is going to be the same, but we don't really deal with a lot of squatters.
Okay. Not squatters, but I guess eviction.
Yeah. The eviction side, we still have to deal with the eviction side of it. We don't have the turnover that normal rentals have. Normal rentals turn over once, or twice every couple of years. Ours, we just got a house back. The individual had been there for 12 years.
That's really good.
Yeah. The downfall of that is the reason they're moving out is because they're not fixing what needs to be fixed in those 12 years sometimes. So there is some downside to that. And we're working on correcting those issues. Those are rent-to-owns.
The 12, and you got it back.
Correct.
From a financial perspective, not a terrible position for you.
Correct.
Yeah. So one of the things in the book you talk about is vetting renters.
Correct.
Did you go to the CIA to learn how to read eye movements?
Well, I can't talk about that. No. So a lot of it is for one, if they don't show up, I mean, obviously they screen themselves. So that's step one. I do application process, which is step 2. If they're not going to pay for an application, obviously if they wean themselves out there as well. I get on their social media. I will look at and see what their social media looks like.
Be careful what you put on your social media.
I don't disagree with that. So I do everything I possibly can. I call their past, rent, if they've rented in the past, I call them. I try to call their employer. You do your best, and that's all you can really do. You try to get to know the person, to find out if they're gonna, walk away and take your fridge, your front door, your back door, and everything else like we've had happen before. So
you want to avoid quitters.
Correct. If they're moving in and out of a house every year, or if they've jumped jobs a bunch, then it's an obvious sign.
Yeah. Being a landlord, being a real estate investor has put you through a series of events to vet you because real estate investing, landlording for sure, does not tolerate quitters.
I agree with that. And we talk about that in the book. I mean, it seems like every time we turned around when we first started, we were getting hit in the face with a 2x4, literally.
Falling off.
Or falling on one, or falling off a ladder. I mean, and so you kind of got to roll with the punches, and you got to, roll forward, hopefully, and learn.
Is there I don't know, has it been kind of like a trusting God concept to you? Or is it,
I've never
trusting
quit.
God is also like not quitting.
I've never quit on anything in my life. So,
yeah.
Maybe I'm too dumb to quit. I don't know.
So one of the things that you don't really tie into the book so much, but you probably could have, a lot of books are this way, where they'll have like a flashback to military experience and a flash forward to corporate experience or whatever business thing. You don't throw that out there so much, but you probably could do it more. And I'm thinking some of these situations where you are, you've got the house finished, it's just about ready to go on the market. Maybe the signs in the yard, I don't know, and then drip, 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 and then like collapse of
Right.
sheetrock and what went wrong.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you've got, days and days of repairs to do between the sheetrock and the paint and the floor that just got ruined and all of this. And you don't quit.
Right.
Because you can't.
Adapt, improvise, and overcome.
There it is. Very, very military thing you just said there. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. And drink water, drive on. Yep. Take ibuprofen for that cancer. You'll be just fine.
Yep. Try it.
And so one of the things that sticks out to me is how much my kids are loud right now. Maybe it's not coming through. I don't know.
It's because my kids are here.
It's because your kids are here. If they weren't here, they wouldn't. They'd be angels.
Right.
One of the memories that sticks out to me from basic training is at the end when you have this sort of culminating exercise. You've done a lot of ruck marching. You've done a lot of like live fire exercises. We did a night live fire exercise where they have this big long sand pit thing set up with machine guns firing a few feet over your head. There's tracers going by. There's big bangs, and you're having to low crawl to get to the end and like shoot some targets along the way and stuff. And at the end of that, after having a pretty tough week, then you have to do a 12-mile ruck march back to your, battalion area thing, back to civilization. And a few of us got the short end of the stick when we got back because we got KP. Now, that doesn't sound that bad per se. They go work in the kitchen. But when you've been up already for 36, 48 hours, whatever it was, and you've just exerted yourself to exhaustion, now go work in the kitchen, mopping the floor and doing that and bringing this back and forth and cleaning this and that and getting barked at by civilian middle-aged to older women who are just unpleasant as anything, and you can't yell at them.
Right.
It's kind of like being a landlord and real estate investor.
It's close, but that's a little easier life.
Military experience is hard, but it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
So what would you say is your favorite experience from this real estate? Memory. What is your favorite memory with your family from this real estate investment life?
It's a good question. I would say that just seeing our kids getting out there and actually walking a property with us, and so like a couple of years ago, we had a real estate agent taking us to some different Airbnbs, and our kids were there. And I told them, I said, pick it apart. What needs to be done? Is it going to be an Airbnb? Why or why not? And at that time, Bretta was probably might have been 10, and so they're going through the whole thing all excited, and they're like, well, Dad, it needs painted here, it needs this done here, it needs this, I think the price needs to be here, and I think it can be an Airbnb because of this, this, and this. And the real estate agent was like, oh my gosh, these kids are 10. Gatlin at that time, he would have been, I don't know, 6 or something like that, and saying kind of the same things. So when you can see that your kids have been in it so long, that they can identify all the ins and outs of that business and see if it's going to be successful in a matter of 10 minutes. You feel like you've done something right.
So what do you wish you could tell your earlier self?
In the real estate side, to understand the financing and being able to communicate how to do subject to deals, lease option deals, also seller finance deals. Those would have allowed me to explode in the real estate so much quicker if I understood how to gain that knowledge at that young age as we were in the real estate. We could have really just launched our real estate career tremendously, knowing what I know today in there. So
what he's talking about with these like different creative financing options, it's stuff that, I mean, honestly, I think I only really understood one of the three he was talking about. I've bought and sold several houses. And sorry for the screaming kids in the background if you can hear them. It's our life.
Well, so for instance, you probably don't understand subject to. Subject to it's subject to the existing mortgage. So you would hold the mortgage in your name.
This is different from assumable loan.
Correct.
Because like on the surface, I would have thought, oh, that's an assumable loan, but it's not.
It's not. So you would actually hold the mortgage in your name, and I would take possession of the actual house with the deed. Mm-hmm. And I would be paying the bank, but the actual mortgage itself would still be in your name.
And so if you quit paying,
correct,
I get the deed back.
You would get the deed, and yes.
And if you keep paying till it's paid off,
right,
the lien comes off, and you
right.
Does the seller basically have a lien on it?
No. So the seller is still going to just hold the mortgage. They're just holding. They're just holding the mortgage itself. It's a complex.
Can the real estate, or not the real estate company, but can the lender stop you from doing that?
They can do a call on sell or due on sale clause, I believe it is. However, 99.9% of the time they will not do that because you're making the payment. Right. Where that individual was actually in the process of either going into foreclosure or bankruptcy or divorce and was forced to sell the property. One of the first ones I did was actually a divorce. Mm-hmm. One of the most awkward I was sitting down with the husband and the wife and trying to go through the whole whole process. And they had overspent on the house too. The only reason I was able to do anything with it is because they had a 30-year mortgage. It was fixed, and I could come back in and I could take that over, and I was able to find that spread and do the rent to own process for somebody. So
yeah. So to be clear, the subject to, mm-hmm. Jordan comes in and he learns this because he's running out of financing options and he can't get any more loans. And every time he tries to walk into the bank, they start treating him like a homeless person. They're like, "Get out! You can't live here."
It did happen at one point.
Leave like the mints alone, sir. Put the mints.
It was
back.
The suckers.
So at this point, it's like I still want to put more property in my portfolio. Right. I still got to build this business, and so the subject to thing comes about. And you learned that from networking.
It was networking, and it was also learning from different individuals on paid programs out there. Yeah. There's a couple great individuals that do a lot of teaching on the subject tos and the lease option purchases. I spent quite a bit of money on some of their programs to figure out how to do it.
Right. So if your debt to income ratio isn't there,
right,
your 2 years of experience to show them everything mm-hmm. Show the bank everything they want to know to prove that you're zero risk,
right,
isn't there, but you're ready to go forward and bust your butt and make it happen. The subject to is an option.
Correct.
And that's really cool. I did not know anything about the subject to. Mm-hmm. Like owner financing was kind of the only thing that I.
Well, and most people, most individuals will say, "Oh, I could do seller financing, which would be a contract for deed." Well, I got into actually building notes and mortgages, which is a little bit different, gives more protection there. The lease with options, the purchase. It's another avenue, and it's easier to do a lease with an option to purchase than it is a subject to. And the reason why is because there's less paperwork involved, less attorneys that need to get involved, those type of things as well too. So there's also on the accounting side, there's not the benefits on the lease option as there is with the actual subject to.
Okay.
You're not getting depreciation.
Not
yes,
quite as good.
Correct. Depreciation.
Essentially, the subject to, you get the depreciation.
Correct.
Do you get anything? You get the interest?
Yes, you would. Yeah, you'll get the interest write-off as well.
Interesting.
Talk to your CPA.
Tax legal advice you can start is not to be misconstrued as tax or legal advice, because it's not. Yeah, so that got just a little bit complicated.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect, because it's a great segue into the other thing maybe that somebody should do, and you kind of got into this in the book, was that you did start engaging the community of investors. Believe it or not, real estate investors help out other real estate investors. They help out new real estate investors. Get involved in your local RIA if they have that kind of thing around, Real Estate Investor Association, or real estate, whatever it is. Yeah, because it's REIA. But there's also people that you can reach out to give you very specific help getting started, going through your first deals. And one of those guys is right there. His name's Jordan, and you can get in contact with him. We will have the contact details in the show notes. And Jordan is somebody that I can personally vouch for, is as legit as anyone out there in the world as far as building a residential real estate portfolio. He has done this stuff. He's made mistakes. He's done a lot of good things. He's learned a lot of stuff through painful trial and error, and he can tell you where the landmines are and where to step so that you don't blow your leg off.
As long as they listen.
As long as they listen. Or like my kids, you just want to do it anyway.
Right.
You want to do it anyway. I don't learn things the hard way too. I'm stubborn. You know. And maybe that's
it's all of us, I think, to a degree.
You would be going back and just like slapping yourself.
Absolutely.
You go back.
If I could go back
yourself.
Oh yeah.
Doing stupid stuff, and probably telling yourself to go talk to this guy before you do anything, things like that.
Yep. Absolutely.
And maybe you would listen to yourself.
Probably not.
But probably not, because you're too stubborn.
Yeah.
That's me too. So the biggest shift in your business model was moving from a bunch of rental houses and then slowly to all rent to own.
Correct.
How did you realize that was what you needed to do?
Well, first off, we were to the point of, we had about, at that time, 25 or 30 houses. I was running the insurance agency, and I was driving back every weekend and fixing toilets and all kinds of stuff. And it was getting to the point where I didn't have enough time in the day to do everything. And I was ready to sell them all and walk away. And a acquaintance of mine had mentioned he just got out of a class of transitioning to rent to owns. And we started talking about it. I'm like, you got to send me the contracts on this. I went through it, vetted it with the attorneys. And so I started slowly transitioning all of my houses to rent to own properties, which is leased with the option to purchase. Put the liability, or put the responsibility of the individuals to fix the toilets, to fix the light fixtures, to take care of all that. So now me and my maintenance crew wasn't running all over the place trying to take care of the little stuff. Now, obviously, if a tree falls on it, the insurance company is going to cover it. But the minor things, I wasn't getting those phone calls for. And so that transition was huge for us, because then we could actually sit back and start working more back on the business itself.
Working on the business, not in the business.
Right.
What book is that?
I don't remember.
It's a book.
Yeah. I know it is.
So you did mention now the insurance agency a little bit. You were making, and this is back to like the mentality kind of thing. You were making enough money at the insurance agency, because we've talked numbers before, that most people would have never left it.
Correct. I agree with that.
When did you know it was time to quit?
Honestly, Obamacare was coming into place, and I knew that it was time to start shifting out of that realm.
Has that realm gone south since then?
It has definitely impacted that area. Okay. Yes. So it was a good decision to already have things in place for it. But we were working in that so much, and it was so stressful all the time. At one point we had 184 individuals working with us and for us. And so you got, it's just a lot of work. And we got to the point where we're like, we've got to start transitioning out of this and walk away from it and sell it at some point.
Yeah.
It's not a great answer for you, but it gives you kind of the gist.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up the point that, your standard 9-to-5 day job
Mhm.
seems secure.
Mhm.
There's a lot of standard 9-to-5 day jobs that are one congressional bill away
Correct.
from being gone.
Mhm.
Regulatory environment can very much just wreck your life.
Absolutely. Yep.
I need a closing. I need a closing question, and I don't know what it should be.
Are you ready for lunch?
What if we did a closing question?
What do I get excited about?
What do you get excited to talk about?
Business in general. I mean, I love, that. How many times do we just sit there and just bang ideas?
Well, yeah, that's what we do when we get together. We just talk about business.
We do. So
we do that.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I mean, it's, I think it's who we are. I mean, we like and we enjoy talking about different ideas, and it's almost like the adventure, is what's the next adventure we're going to take. Well, it leads into business. So.
Yeah. There's a book called The Masculine Mandate by Rick Phillips.
Okay.
And in the first chapter, it's not the introduction, it's the first chapter. He talks about this kind of sociological versus maybe societal, kind of societal push to not define yourself by what you do. And there's kind of there's a funny play on that in that movie, Anger Management.
Okay.
Where it's like, all right, I want you to tell me what your name is and who you are. It's like, well, I'm John. I'm a firefighter. No, so that's what you do. Who are you? And it's so freaking ephemeral that you just can't say like that. I'm not anything. You can't say who you are,
right?
Because everything is going to be about what you do,
right?
And Rick Phillips makes the point in this book, though, that when two men meet,
mm-hmm.
unless the guy's ashamed of what he's doing, or he kind of has an embarrassment of riches, where he just doesn't want to say, well, I own Starbucks. I know, whatever. Like, you don't want to say it in a impolite conversation because it's hard to say it. Actually, sometimes it was like that as a helicopter pilot.
Sure.
It's like, because even though like it doesn't get you fame and fortune to be a helicopter pilot, people would take it as just like, oh wow, kind of thing.
Right.
And so I wouldn't want to say it. I wouldn't want to bring it up a lot. But generally speaking, when two dudes meet each other, it doesn't take 4 seconds. It's like, hi, I'm Bob. Hi, I'm Bill. What do you do, Bob?
Right.
That's the next thing. And if there's enough general curiosity or specific curiosity about those different jobs, they're going to spend the rest of the time just talking about their jobs.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. It's actually like sort of a primordial created thing. Genesis 1 and 2. What God doesn't make man to go discover himself. He makes man to work and keep the garden, to produce and protect.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always an interesting conversation. And I wish we could record them without endangering our livelihoods and freedom to just record everything we talk about, because it would be very interesting. But a phone call with Jordan would be well worth anyone's time that was thinking about real estate investment. And at this point, I have to transition to telling Jordan that after we eat lunch, because we're about to go eat lunch, then we're going to go build a small bathroom in the new cabin.
That's why he really invited me to come over.
I don't know much about framing. I mean, a basic idea, but no. So there's a 4,500 word essay that I wrote that's on the website. It's the big idea here about work. And I actually mentioned a guy in there who is coming over to the house, and who we were having a plumbing emergency at the time. And Becky said, why don't you call Jordan and just like, see if he has any ideas or has any tools maybe that we could use to, like, I don't want to bother him with that. I just want to sit at the table and like, just have a meal and not get covered in literal poop for his visit over here. Within 10 minutes of his getting here, though, he was like, dude, why didn't you tell me? I would have brought this and this and this, because so this time I didn't just, disappoint him, hopefully. Did you see those 2x4s in the back of my truck?
I did. I did.
Now you know why. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of it. And all the links for Jordan's material, his book, maybe a website soon, and contact information. Deals, ducks, and duct tape. It's available for next to nothing on Amazon. You should get it. And you can get Siri to read it to you if you can't read it yourself. Jordan actually can read, though. So
sometimes.
Sometimes.
This episode of the Stay at Work Home is brought to you by HeartlandBunkies.com. Come check out our full line of small cabin kits that can be easily assembled by a few friends or family in just a weekend for extra space for meaningful connection, or extra income, or a home office, a homeschool room, or whatever.